may deem necessary to support the national security strategy and address emerging threats. Significantly, the bill also refers to consideration of opportunities for foreign export and partner nation involvement if prohibiting export of the F-22 were repealed. So is the RAPTOR back? Not so fast. The bill only requests a study, it doesn't authorize the resumption of production. Once the study is complete, senators on the counterpart Senate Armed Services Committee would need to support it, as would both chambers of Congress and the administration in office. The study will have to evaluate both risks and opportunities, and the risks are many. An F-22 restart would be a complex, costly and lengthy process that would have a significant impact on other key USAF program priorities, including the F-35 JSF and the B-21 bomber. This comes at a time of growing concerns over a looming bow wave, and here, of US defense projects that are generating ever-increasing fiscal risk into the future. The cost of producing new F-22s is estimated at $276 million per aircraft, and the only way to fund restarting F-22 Raptor production would be to take that money from other key projects. Renewed production of the F-22 would certainly then see reduced funds for fewer, but more expensive, F-35s, the classic procurement death spiral. The F-22 design dates back to the late 1990s, so a technical refresh would also be needed. A lot of progress has been made in stealth, data fusion, sensors, computers and avionics since then, which the F-22 has largely missed out on. Building new Raptors as they originally came off the line wouldn't work due to obsolete avionics and computer systems that would need to be completely replaced. That's both a risk, in terms of the cost and complexity of producing combat-effective aircraft within a reasonable time frame and budget, and an opportunity. A resurrected F-22 could take advantage of advances coming out of the F-35 follow-on modernization process, and here as well as other efforts towards developing a future air combat capability beyond the F-35, with the potential of then retrofitting these to Gen 1 F-22s already flying. Another major challenge is that new production facilities would need to be acquired and a new workforce trained. So a long, tortuous and expensive road would be ahead before new F-22s could roll out sometime in the next decade. But if the F-22 was resurrected, what would this mean for Australia's defence options in the future? The 2016 Defence White Paper, 4.42, and the Integrated Investment Programme, 5.11, both refer to the replacement of the F/A-18F Super Hornet by around 2030, right at the point where a new batch of enhanced F-22s would be available, which is why the bill's mention of export possibilities is significant. We then have the option to consider acquiring new-build F-22s to replace the Super Hornets without jeopardizing the approved 72 F-35s. A high-low mix of enhanced F-22s and the F-35 fleet could be established by 2030 that could see the F-22 offer the RAF and superiority capability par excellence, while the F-35 would offer a
The 9X is a generation beyond the previous Sidewinder missiles we used before. It's a huge advance in lethality for the F-22. The F-22 Raptor units of the 3rd Wing, which includes the 90th Fighter Squadron and the 525th Fighter Squadron, are the first to receive the AIM-9X. But units flying the F-15 and F-16, as well as the Navy and Marine Corps F/A-18 Hornet squadrons, have been equipped with the new weapon for years. It took the Air Force more than a decade to equip the Raptor with the AIM-9X because of the F-22's obtuse avionics architecture, which is exceptionally difficult to upgrade. Even this recent edition of the AIM-9X is a jury-rigged interim measure called Update 5, which also includes an automatic ground collision avoidance system. While the new software upgrade allows Raptor pilots to take advantage of the performance of the new missile, the jet's targeting display will not show the correct symbology for the AIM-9X. Instead, the weapon will have the same displays as the current AIM-9M and pilots will have to compensate for the difference. The situation will not be rectified until a new Enhanced Stores Management System, ESMS, is added to the frontline Block 30 and Block 35 Raptors in 2018 with the Increment 3.2b hardware upgrade. With incorporated 3.2b, the F-22 will display the proper symbology for the AIM-9X. But even then, the F-22 will not have a helmet-mounted cueing system, which was deleted during the jet's problematic development program in the late 1990s. Raptor pilots will be able to take advantage of many of the superior capabilities of the AIM-9X even without a helmet-mounted cueing system. But to fully exploit the outer edges of the new Sidewinder's greatly expanded weapons employment zone, F-22 pilots will eventually need one. The Air Force demonstrated such a capability using the Thales Scorpion helmet-mounted cueing system on board the Raptor in 2014 at Nellis Air Force Base, Nevada. While the pilots gave the Scorpion systems a thumbs up, the service instead embarked upon a contest to field a new helmet-mounted cueing system on the powerful 5th-generation fighter by 2020. The helmet that pilots don't want is the one on the F-35, which is heavy and strains the neck during high-G maneuvers. Indeed, the Air Force's stated request to infrared guided missiles. Both aircraft can carry two. For a long time, Russian aircraft had the advantage of superior short-range R-73 heat-seeking missiles that could be targeted via helmet-mounted sights. The pilot just had to look at an enemy plane to shoot at it. Importantly, the plane did not even have to be pointed at the target. However, the United States finally deployed its own equivalent of the R-73, the AIM-9X, in 2004, and F-22s are finally planned to have the capability to use AIM-9XS by 2017. Helmet-mounted sights should come in 2020. By the time PAK-FAs are in operational units, the two planes will have roughly equivalent short-range missile capabilities. The verdict: slight edge to PAK-FA. Both aircraft are highly capable dogfighters, but the PAK-FA looks like it's the more agile of the two. Here's the thing about WVR combat, though. You only get to do it if you survive the beyond visual range encounter first. Let's immediately address the elephant in the room, or rather, aerospace. The F-22 is a very stealthy fighter believed to have a radar cross-section of just 0.0001 meters. The PAK-FA is a stealthy fighter with a claimed cross-section as low as 0.1 meters. From the front. The PAK-FA patent claims a maximum of cross-section of 1 meter. Those cool three-dimensional thrust vector nozzles in the back have a way of calling attention to themselves. This may not be a tremendous limitation if the PAK-FA fights defensive engagements in which its opponents are at the edge of their radar net. However, it's far less ideal for penetrating deeply into hostile radar coverage. That may be of less concern for Russia, but it does mean that the PAK-FA will remain more detectable than the F-22 in a variety of situations. In other BVR capabilities, the two designs are more evenly matched. The F-22 and the PAK-FA both have active electronically scanned array radars, or rather, once the NO-36 by ECA ASA radar completes its development. ASA radars are stealthier, are more resistant to jamming, and boast higher fidelity. The F-22 and PAK-FA will be able to detect each other as they close within 50 kilometers, though which one first is a subject of debate. The T-50 does boast a modern infrared search and track (IRST) system with a maximum 50-kilometer detection range. The F-22 currently has none, though it is slated to receive one by 2020. However, the F-22's engine's nozzles are designed to reduce heat signature, diminishing detection range, while the PAK-FA's engines are indiscreet. So, it's less than obvious who will detect who first, given that the PAK-FA may be radar observable within that range. In any event, the IRST does not offer the means to target other aircraft, it merely gives an idea of their general position. The T-50 also has its own L-band radars in the wings which theoretically would be effective in determining the general position of stealth fighters. However, their range is fairly limited and they are not precise enough to lock on weapons. Unlike the IRST, they have the disadvantage of making the T-50 highly observable on radar when activated. If U.S. Air Force exercises pitting Raptors against F-15s and F-16s are anything to go by, long-range missiles will ravage fourth-generation fighters at distances at which they have little to no ability to detect and shoot back at stealth fighters. But when two stealth fighters clash, the maximum applicable range will be much shorter. Both planes carry deadly long-range radar-guided missiles of comparable effectiveness. Russia has its cutting-edge K-77M missiles with a reported range of 200 kilometers, and the United States has the AIM-120D Scorpion with a range of 160. The greater range of the K-77M may be an advantage, but not against a low observable stealth fighter. Superior N-jet-powered missiles, such as the Meteor and PL-15, are already being fielded, though it is not clear if either the F-22 or PAK will receive them. The F-22 can carry 6 AIM-120s in its internal bays, whereas the PAK is limited to 4. This does give it a modest edge, as future aerial clashes are likely to involve a lot of missiles flying back and forth, and likely more than one will be launched to ensure a kill. Many experts are skeptical that the PAK boasts 5th-generation avionics and networking technology used in the latest U.S. fighters. Intriguingly, networking with a sufficiently powerful low-band ASA radar, such as that on an E-2D AWACS plane, might allow radar-guided missiles to target stealth fighters. However, F-22 data links are also outdated and have only recently been slated for upgrade. Operationally, F-22s will work in concert with an extensive network of supporting sensors and electronic warfare platforms, both at sea and in the air. There is even talk of using stealth fighters to cue potential targets to be hit by super long-range missiles launched from B-52 Arsenal planes. In contrast, Russian analysts insist that ground-based low-bandwidth radars and long-range surface-to-air missiles such as the S-400 are a sure solution against stealth fighters. These tie the T-50 to operate closer to ground-based positions, which may be acceptable given Russia's security posture. Verdict: edge for F-22. History shows that the side that shoots first in vehicular combat usually wins, and the stealthier F-22 seems more likely to do so, though their capabilities may be more even in a head-on approach. What is this? I hear you cry. How dare I despoil the purity of this noble duel of falcons with vulgar commercial gossip? The reason is Post 1991 collapse of the Soviet Union, the F-22 was left without a mission, or so it was thought. Indeed, the second Bush and Obama administrations canceled the F-22 program in 2008 after only 195 aircraft, 187 production planes, were ordered because they made the assumption that high-end state-on-state conflicts were a relic of the past. However, as it is becoming increasingly apparent, they were wrong. Earlier this year, the Defense Secretary spoke about a return to great power competition. In this context, Russia and China are our most stressing competitors. They have developed and are continuing to advance military systems that seek to threaten our advantages in specific areas. And in some case, they are developing weapons and ways of wars that seek to achieve their objectives rapidly, before they hope we can respond. Despite its severe problems, Russia managed to develop and field advanced weapon systems such as the Su-35S flanker, S-300 and S-400 among others. Meanwhile, a rising China modernized its forces in earnest, developing new fighters and new SAM systems such as the formidable J-16 and HQ-9. The Raptor is the only operational combat aircraft that the United States operates that Washington can rely on to take on and defeat advanced air defenses such as the Panzer S-1, S-300V4 and S-400 that Moscow has dispatched to Syria. Moreover, it is the only aircraft in the U.S. Air Force inventory that possesses a huge performance overmatch against late-generation Russian fighters such as the Su-30SM Flanker H and Su-35S Flanker E, both of which the Kremlin has also deployed to the region. But while it is important to have the right tools, more important is the human dimension. Pilots and maintainers must be trained and ready to defeat the highest-end threats if they are to be sent into combat. In many ways, the Raptor is the U.S. Air Force's insurance policy. While the rest of the Air Force has been preparing for and fighting low-intensity warfare scenarios,
As an elite vanguard force, the Raptor fleet has focused almost exclusively on defeating the highest-end threats. Even since the earliest days when the Raptor entered operational testing 2002, the F-22 has performed
Raptor twist and turn. Last week during an impressive demonstration at Langley Air Force Base in Virginia, we asked the 1st Fighter Wing's commander if he's worried about Russia's new SU-57 stealth fighter. "It's always good to be chased," Colonel Jason Hines, commander of the 1st Fighter Wing, told Business Insider. "When people are trying to beat you, you know you got an impressive airplane." Russia has touted its new SU-57, which is still undergoing testing and has yet to be mass-produced, as superior to the US F-22 Raptor. While many have called into question its stealth capabilities, Moscow claims the Su-57 is a 5th-generation fighter and that it hopes to turn it into a 6th-generation fighter. "I don't know what they're trying to call it," Hines said. "I can tell you that anytime you're going into combat, you got to be concerned about whatever the adversary brings, whether it's a 4th-gen airplane or a 5th-gen plane. You got to be ready for both." Hines said what's most important for the entire operational kill chain is their own training, as well as the maintenance of the plane and its weapons. "You really can't be focused on the adversary, you got to be focused on yourself," Hines said. "You'll train on the adversaries, you'll train against everything you need to be ready for, and we got to be ready."